When we find ourselves in high-pressure situations, the first thing that tends to spread isn't logic, it's emotion. Think about a time when a leader walked into the room visibly stressed. Everyone else picked up on it. Shoulders tightened, voices raised, and suddenly the pressure of the moment doubled. Stress multiplies faster than facts. When one person panics, the room panics. But the reverse is also true. When someone enters a tense environment and carries themselves with calmness, they change the temperature of the room. A steady voice, slower breathing, measured words. These cues signal safety to others. People lean in instead of pulling back. They begin to believe that whatever challenge lies ahead is manageable, not impossible. Calm doesn't mean ignoring the pressure. It doesn't mean pretending things are easy. It means choosing to create clarity when everything around you feels uncertain. In the middle of confusion, calm says, let's take one step at a time. That one step often makes the difference between spiraling downward or finding a way forward. When we remain calm, we give others permission to think clearly. Our tone and body language tell them, we can handle this together. It's not about controlling every outcome, but about controlling the energy we bring into the situation. Calmness becomes a form of leadership, not through authority, but through example. There's also science behind it. The human brain is wired with mirror neurons, meaning we unconsciously mimic the emotions of those around us. If someone is anxious, we feel anxious. If someone is calm, we begin to regulate ourselves to match that state. Calmness isn't just a personal choice, it's a gift we offer to those in our presence. Think about moments of crisis you've witnessed. The people we remember are rarely the loudest or the most frantic. They are the ones who projected steadiness. Calm voices cut through the noise. Calm actions become the anchor when everyone else is tossed by the storm. In chaos, calm is leadership in its purest form. What makes calm so powerful is that it creates confidence without words. People don't just hear it, they sense it. They feel safe enough to stop panicking and start problem solving. And in that space, possibilities emerge. Where stress shuts doors, calmness opens them. Ultimately, calm matters because it's contagious in the same way stress is, but with radically different outcomes. One spreads confusion and fear, the other spreads clarity and confidence. When we understand this, staying calm under pressure is no longer just about ourselves. It becomes about the impact we choose to have on everyone around us. Pressure has a way of showing up uninvited. It arrives in the middle of deadlines and unexpected crises, or in the moments when all eyes are on us. Our first instinct is often to treat it like an enemy, something to fight against, something that threatens to undo us. But pressure is not the problem. Pressure is simply the stage that reveals what already exists within us. Think about an athlete standing at the starting line. The crowd is loud, the expectations are high, and the pressure is immense. Does that pressure create their skill? Of course not. It only reveals how much they have trained, how disciplined they've been, and how prepared they are in that very moment. Pressure doesn't give ability, it exposes it. In our daily lives, the same truth applies. When we feel pressure in a big meeting, a negotiation, or a personal decision, it isn't the pressure that defines us. It's our response. Do we collapse under the weight, or do we lean on the foundation we've built? Pressure doesn't decide that for us. It simply shines a light on who we are when the mask of comfort is removed. The fear of pressure often comes from misunderstanding it. We see it as an external force pressing down on us, when in reality, it is an internal invitation. Pressure asks, will you rise to the occasion? Will you rely on your preparation? Will you trust yourself? When we reframe pressure this way, it stops being an enemy and starts becoming a mirror. Some of the greatest growth moments in life come from times of intense pressure. A tough conversation that could change a relationship. A high-stakes presentation that could shape a career. A personal challenge that could redefine resilience. In each of these, pressure doesn't diminish us, it sharpens us. It asks us to bring out the version of ourselves that we might otherwise keep hidden. If we avoid pressure altogether, we rob ourselves of those opportunities. Imagine never testing your limits because the stakes felt too high. You might feel safe, but safety doesn't lead to strength. Strength comes from walking into the fire and realizing you are capable of standing there without burning out. Pressure is the fire, but it also forges. Leaders, performers, and everyday people who thrive under pressure understand this distinction. They don't chase pressure, but they don't run from it either. They see it as a necessary part of growth. When the moment arrives, they don't ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, they ask, what can this moment reveal about me? And that's why pressure is not the enemy. It doesn't arrive to break us. It arrives to expose the truth about who we are, to challenge us to rise higher, and to remind us that growth only happens when comfort falls away. In the heat of the moment, our instincts are often faster than our thoughts. Something goes wrong, someone says the wrong thing, or the situation takes a sharp turn, and before we even process it, we react. But reaction without reflection often leads to regret. That is why the simplest, most powerful tool we have under pressure is the pause, the act of breathing before we respond. When we take that breath, even just a few seconds, we interrupt the cycle of chaos. Our bodies begin to regulate, our heart rate slows, and our minds start to clear. In those short moments, we create space between what just happened and how we choose to act. That space is where calm lives, and it's where wisdom is found. Consider how arguments often escalate. One harsh word sparks another, voices rise, and soon the issue is buried under layers of reaction. Yet, the person who pauses, takes a breath, and responds with intention instead of impulse changes the entire trajectory. The difference between conflict and resolution often lies in that single breath. Breathing before reacting isn't weakness, it's control. It's the ability to own your response rather than be owned by the situation. Anyone can lash out under stress. It takes strength to pause, breathe, and answer with clarity. That pause doesn't erase the pressure, but it transforms it into something manageable. Neuroscience supports this as well. When we are under stress, the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fight or flight, takes over. By pausing and breathing deeply, we activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision making and reasoning. In simple terms, breathing shifts us from survival mode to thinking mode. In leadership, parenting, or even friendships, this practice becomes a superpower. The people who pause before they react are the ones who can de-escalate situations, preserve relationships, and make better decisions. Their calm becomes contagious, not because they never feel pressure, but because they choose to create room for choice instead of chaos. Think about times in history or in your own life when someone's calm response shifted the outcome of a difficult situation. They didn't need to be the smartest or the loudest. They simply knew how to pause. That pause created a ripple effect, one choice leading to another, one calm moment preventing a spiral of panic. Breathing before reacting is a discipline. It's something we practice in small moments so we can rely on it in big ones. Every pause, every breath, every conscious choice strengthens that muscle, giving us the power to face pressure with clarity rather than confusion. When pressure builds, our minds instinctively turn inward. We think about how we'll look, what people will say, and whether we might fall short. That self-focus magnifies fear because it puts all the weight on us. Every misstep feels like a reflection of our worth. But when we shift the focus outward, toward service, toward others, the pressure doesn't disappear, it transforms. Asking, "How can I help?" redirects energy. Instead of obsessing over personal failure, we begin looking for ways to contribute. That simple shift reframes the situation from a test of ego to an opportunity for impact. Suddenly, the weight of performance is lighter because it's no longer about proving ourselves. It's about serving something bigger than ourselves. Think of a surgeon in the middle of a high-risk procedure. If their focus is on, "What if I make a mistake?" their hands might tremble, their judgment clouded. But if their focus is on, "How can I give this patient the best chance?" their attention sharpens. The pressure becomes fuel for precision and care. Service displaces fear. The same applies in everyday moments. In a tough presentation at work, instead of asking, "What if I mess this up?" asking, "How can I make this useful for my audience?" changes the tone. It pulls us away from self-consciousness and into contribution. People respond not to our perfection, but to our intent to help them. When we choose service over self, calm follows naturally. The ego creates anxiety because it craves approval and fears rejection. Service creates stability because it isn't about recognition. It's about impact. That mindset not only eases our pressure, but also earns trust from those around us. People want to follow someone who puts the mission above their own image. Leaders who thrive under pressure often do so because they are anchored in service. Their question isn't, "How will this make me look?" but "How can this decision benefit the team, the community, or the cause?" That perspective turns high-pressure moments into opportunities for collective strength rather than personal stress. This shift also reminds us that failure isn't the end. When our focus is service, even if we fall short, we've still contributed something valuable. People remember the effort to help more than the mistakes along the way. Pressure loses its sting when the purpose is bigger than personal performance. Ultimately, the question we ask determines the outcome we create. What if I fail? Locks us into fear. Well, how can I help? Frees us into action. Service doesn't remove the pressure, but it gives us the courage to stand in it with clarity and purpose. Most people view pressure as a burden, something to escape or avoid at all costs. But what if the very presence of pressure meant something different? What if it was actually a signal that we are trusted, that someone believes in our ability to handle a challenge? Pressure, when reframed, becomes less about weight and more about worth. Think about it, no one gives responsibility to someone they don't trust. The fact that we feel pressure often means others see potential in us. A tough assignment, a leadership role, a critical decision, these aren't punishments, they're opportunities that say, "You are capable." Pressure, then, is evidence of faith placed in us. Consider an athlete playing in a championship game. The pressure is enormous, but it exists because the team made it that far and because the coach trusts them to perform. The privilege of that moment outweighs the discomfort. Without the pressure, there would be no stage, no chance to prove what they've built through practice and dedication. The same applies in everyday life. Being asked to lead a project at work, to deliver an important presentation, or to guide others through difficulty means someone believes we can carry that weight. The pressure isn't there to crush us. It's there because the stakes matter and because we are positioned to make a difference. When we see pressure as privilege, it shifts our posture. Instead of saying, "Why me?" we begin saying, "I get to." That small shift creates gratitude instead of resentment. Gratitude makes the burden feel lighter because we recognize the opportunity hidden within it. What once felt like stress begins to feel like a stage. Reframing pressure doesn't erase the difficulty, but it gives us strength to endure it. Responsibility always comes with weight, but that weight also shapes character. Just like a muscle grows under resistance, our resilience grows under pressure. Privilege and growth are inseparable from challenge. This perspective also deepens our sense of responsibility. If pressure means trust, then how we carry ourselves under it communicates something to those who gave us the opportunity. Do we shrink from it, or do we step into it with honor? Pressure is a chance to show we are worthy of the trust placed in us. When we begin to see pressure as privilege, it changes everything. It turns fear into gratitude, burden into responsibility, and challenge into opportunity. It no longer feels like something happening to us, but something happening for us. Calm under pressure doesn't appear out of nowhere. It isn't luck, and it isn't something we can fake for long. True calm is rooted in something deeper, preparation and purpose. When we know we've done the work, and when we know why we're doing it, pressure feels less like a threat and more like a test we are ready to meet. Preparation builds confidence because it eliminates uncertainty. A musician who has practiced for hours doesn't fear the stage in the same way as someone who skimmed the notes. An athlete who has trained daily doesn't question their ability when the game begins. Preparation tells us you've already put in the work, now trust yourself. But preparation alone isn't enough. Without purpose, preparation feels mechanical, like we're just rehearsing for the sake of it. Purpose gives meaning to our effort. It reminds us why the work matters in the first place. A teacher facing a challenging classroom, for example, may feel pressure every day, but their purpose, shaping young minds, fuels their resilience. When pressure comes and the situation feels uncertain, purpose steadies us. It's the anchor that keeps us from drifting into panic. If preparation builds the tools, purpose tells us where and how to use them. Together, they create a foundation strong enough to withstand the storms of stress. Consider the difference between someone who is unprepared but passionate versus someone who is prepared but purposeless. The first may burn out quickly, while the second may deliver without conviction. True calm comes when both preparation and purpose align, giving us both competence and conviction. Anchoring ourselves in preparation and purpose also reduces the power of doubt. In moments of pressure, the voice in our head often whispers, "You're not ready," or "This doesn't matter." Preparation silences the first voice. Purpose silences the second. What's left is focus, the ability to meet the moment with clarity. This mindset transforms the way we approach challenges. Instead of fearing what could go wrong, we start leaning into what we've already built and why it matters. We stop scrambling for confidence in the moment and start relying on the foundation we've laid long before it arrived. When we know our preparation is solid and our purpose is clear, calm isn't forced, it's natural. We don't have to chase it in the moment because we've already built it into who we are. The stories we tell ourselves in moments of pressure often decide the outcome before it even begins. If we enter a challenge repeating, "I can't do this, I'm not ready, I'll fail," the brain listens. It believes that story and prepares the body to act accordingly. But if we tell ourselves a different story, one of possibility and capability, the brain also listens. It begins to align our thoughts, emotions, and actions with that belief. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools to shape that story. Athletes use it constantly, not just imagining themselves winning, but rehearsing every step that leads to victory. They see the start, the middle, the finish, and everything in between. By the time they step onto the field, they've already been there in their minds. The brain doesn't distinguish much between what is vividly imagined and what is real. In moments of pressure, visualization gives us familiarity. When we picture ourselves walking into the meeting, speaking with confidence, or solving the problem calmly, we reduce the fear of the unknown. The mind feels as though it's stepping into something it already knows, making calm more accessible. Alongside visualization, positive self-talk directs our inner dialogue. The words we choose for ourselves matter. Saying, "I've handled challenges before, I can handle this one too," builds resilience. Saying, "I'm failing already," builds panic. The language we use becomes the script our brain follows. Positive self-talk doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending things are easy. It means anchoring in truth and strength, reminding ourselves of past wins, of skills we've developed, of preparation we've invested. All of this builds confidence. It's not about hype, it's about aligning our inner voice with what empowers us instead of what paralyzes us. This combination of visualization and self-talk also changes how the body reacts. Stress triggers adrenaline, but calm visualization and encouraging words slow the breath, steady the hands, and sharpen focus. The body responds to the mind's direction. A calm story in the brain creates a calm presence in the body. In leadership and daily life, this practice becomes a quiet discipline. Before a presentation, before a tough conversation, before making a big decision, those who pause to visualize success and speak positively to themselves carry a presence that others can feel. Their calm isn't an accident, it's practiced. The truth is the brain believes the story you tell it. If the story is fear, fear grows. If the story is strength, strength shows. Visualization and self-talk are simply the tools to make sure the story we choose is one that carries us, not one that crushes us. Calmness is often seen as something we either have or don't have, as if some people are simply born with the ability to stay composed under pressure. But calm isn't an innate trait, it's a skill. Like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. Waiting until a crisis to discover calm is like waiting until the storm to learn how to swim. The time to build calm is long before the moment demands it. Daily life gives us endless opportunities to practice. The traffic jam that tests our patience. The long line at the grocery store, the minor conflict at work. These moments may feel small, but they are training grounds. Choosing to breathe, choosing to pause, choosing to stay steady in the face of small frustrations builds the muscle we will rely on in bigger storms. Think of a firefighter. They don't practice calm for the first time when the flames are rising. They drill it daily, rehearsing responses, regulating their breathing and staying focused under controlled stress. So when real chaos arrives, calm isn't foreign, it's familiar. That's the same approach we can take in our own lives. Practicing calm daily also reshapes our nervous system. Every time we slow down our breath instead of snapping, every time we listen instead of reacting, we teach the body and mind to associate pressure with steadiness instead of panic. Over time, calm becomes the default setting, not the exception. It's also about habits. Meditation, journaling, deep breathing exercises, or even short moments of silence train our ability to center ourselves. These practices don't need to be long or complicated. What matters is consistency. Just as lifting a small weight every day builds strength over time, small moments of practicing calm build resilience. When calm is practiced regularly, it also influences how others see us. People begin to trust that we won't unravel at the first sign of stress. That trust gives us credibility, whether we're leading a team, raising a family, or navigating relationships. Calm isn't just personal strength, it becomes a form of service to those around us. The beauty of practicing calm is that it compounds. What feels difficult in the beginning becomes natural with repetition. The situations that once rattled us lose their power. Instead of being tossed around by every wave of stress, we learn to steady ourselves and ride through it. Calm is not a switch we flip when we're desperate. It's a muscle we train when things are ordinary. And the more we train it, the more it will be there for us when life is anything but ordinary.